Hello, all. Hello. Hello, everybody. How we doing? Oh, man, chat, you're busy tonight. Everybody's real busy in here. Oh, my goodness. Y'all, I think are we excited to talk to the guest today? You guys are talking about software stuff. You got like, oh my goodness, the no background music, but otherwise sounds good. Yeah, I mean, I don't think we don't normally do background music during the pod, like the interviews. But yeah. um, awesome. It's so great to see everybody. Well, let's kick things off. Let's get going. Let's get this started. All right. Cool. was gonna been off script for the last couple of these, and I'm like, let's get the intro right this time. I'm gonna get the intro freaking right. All right, hello everybody. My name is Woody, and I am the host of this, the Virtual Woody Variety Show. The Virtual Woody Variety Show is a live stream show on Twitch that engages in casual conversations about ideas, creativity, and emerging tech. I get to talk to brilliant and insightful guests, and afterwards we play a unique in-show game show right inside my Unreal Engine environment. For those of you who are new here, we are recording live right now on Twitch. If you have a question, leave it in the chat, and we will get to it later before I force my guest into some interactive insanity. My guest tonight is a virtual content creator by the way of the XR space. As the CEO of Agile Lens, his company, he has worked with clients like NVIDIA, Intel, Samsung, and many more, using all manner of tools and game engines. Additionally, he's a musician, an architect, a podcast host, and an official Unreal Engine instructor, among many other things. Please welcome on Mr. Alex Coulombe. And let me bring him on here. Hello, Alex. How are you? I like the. Does that mean you had like a fireplace in your VR goggles? That's how we do the "hello, I didn't see you there" trope, right? But like virtual, I suppose. Are you? Oh, you. That is correct. Yeah, if you want to just repeat, "Oh, hello, I didn't see you there," just for everyone's.
Hold on, we're gonna do it again. We're gonna back up.
Quality assurance.
Okay.
Here we go.
All
Take
right.
two
Hi.
on this.
Yeah. I'm just.
Welcome on, Mr. Alex Coulombe.
Oh, hello.
Oh, cool. I'm Mr. Alex Coulombe. Dang it, I'm saying his name wrong on the second take.
Take three.
No.
We're doing great.
Oh, this is perfect. Okay, cool. Yeah, no, I mean, okay, we were just talking about like pre-show rituals before we got on. Do you have any pre-show rituals? Do you like break anything or tell anyone to break anything or like anything like that?
Yeah, back when we used to do a lot more regular theater, we would do the simplest one was we put everyone's hands in the middle and we'd go energy, 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 and then like everyone be pumped up and go out and do their thing. We also played a lot of Jan Tiersen music, who was the composer for Amelie, as well as a lot of Philip Glass. That was pretty much the music we'd use before every theater show we ever did in college.
Oh, nice, cool. Okay, then, so this is like a first question I had that I feel like I already know the answer to this because it's like kind of all over everywhere, but like you're definitely a theater kid.
Oh, yes, very much.
Oh,
so.
yeah. Okay, yeah. So what's the pocket for that? Like musical theater, like dramatic, like what's any kind, like what's the happy spot?
Yeah, I came into theater around middle school and started to do a lot of, very silly musical theater things, and I enjoyed them. They felt very pleasurable, but in kind of a not important way. But then when I got to study abroad in London in 2008, I was technically there as part of the architecture program at Syracuse, but got to do a lot of things that were like very specific to the theater majors. I saw the most incredible, serious, like straight theater of my life. And it got me from thinking like theater is a fun little distraction to like, oh my God, no, like theater can change people's lives. And I had so many like cathartic, world shaking experiences during that semester with incredibly serious, dramatic performances that were just beyond anything that I thought was possible on a live stage. And so that really made me take it much more seriously and start to think of it as something that should be a meaningful part of my profession.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's cool. Well, that gets us right into it. That's great. So, that's for those who don't know anything about Alex, like you kind of exist in this like really interesting space between all the XR stuff, but also architecture stuff, but also live theater stuff.
Yeah, that's right.
Like something I talk about a lot on streams is like the nature of like just combining all the stuff that you love together. And like I can't think of many people who are doing it better than you are.
Oh, that's very kind of you. Yeah, and I think the XR community in general, from the very beginning, has been this wonderful island of misfit toys where, so many people from different professions and disciplines have come here to find a new place at this emerging medium to do really exciting things. And I'd say the same thing about the Unreal Engine community in general. So I'm always thrilled by the people I get to meet, like yourself, in these worlds.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, it's cool because I feel like there is so much unexplored space there Like there is like a lot of room for a lot of different kinds of identity and focus, like, or subgenres, I guess,
Mm-hmm.
in specific in VR or XR. So how did you get, like, can you name a time like early on when the creativity thing kind of clicked for you? Do you have like any early experiences where you're
Ooh.
like, this is it, this is me now?
Yeah, I mean, I can go back to preschool. I have a lot of memories from age 2 to 5. I went to a Montessori school where wonderful teachers who just really fostered whatever we were into. And I remember noticing that I had so many ideas for stories, and I was drawing my little like construction paper stories like a madman. I'd come home from school with these big giant construction paper books of like, here's all the stories I came up with today. And so for a long time, my dream was to be an author who also illustrated their own books. And that
Mm.
probably came to a head around fifth grade, where I wrote this like incredibly long 100-page story about my friends and I being abducted by aliens, who then took us to like different time periods and different planets. And like we're doing all these experiments on like how we would react in different scenarios. And, wrote the whole story, used way too many fonts. There were probably 100 different fonts inside that. And I drew all the pictures, and it was the first time I got in really big trouble at school because I used the photocopier and implied I was going to like copy a few pieces of paper, but made like 30 copies of my book to hand out to everyone who was in the story. And yeah, got a little bit of trouble for that.
I love that so much. The like one thing that I think is also in that story, which like is very obvious from like just I've met you in person and also just I follow you on all these different spaces. Like you have a an exuberance to you, if that makes sense. You I think you're the smiliest person I've met in tech.
Ooh, now you make me want to like try to be much more serious for this interview, and I'll probably fail immediately.
No, don't do that. No. Look at me, Alex. I'm a little cartoon man. This is great. Like we love it. It's good vibes. I love that story because you're like you're so excited about your story, and then you're making 30 copies to hand out to all your friends. You've made 300 pages of paper off of the school copier, and like the establishment's not happy. I love it. It's a
Yeah,
good story.
story of my life. You're also reminding me of something a friend of mine said when she started to realize how involved I was in the theater school at Syracuse, where she came to me one day and said, "The drama department is confused as to how you exist." And I thought, like, that's a good one. I'll take that.
Wait, what does it mean?
She meant like basically because of how often I was doing things that you were supposed to have all these prerequisites for. Like I
Mm.
was in all these classes and doing all these things that were supposed to be for like the theater kids who were like entirely focused on theater. But I was just really good at petitioning certain departments and saying like, oh man, if I could take that playwriting class, it would be amazing. And I would always try to explain how it would influence my architecture work, and usually I would get my way. So I think there was a certain charm to the teachers liking the direction I wanted to take my education, and I always kind of felt like I was taking my education into my own hands and didn't necessarily want to go down the beaten path.
Gotcha. Did you like school as a whole?
Yes, but I was also very ready to be done when I graduated with my BArch, my Bachelor's of Architecture in 2010. I had all these friends who were like, "Oh, I'm going to go get my master's. I'm going to get my PhD. Here's all the things I want to do next in school." And I was like, I feel like I have everything I need, all the tools I need to go off and do my own thing. And it's probably also worth mentioning that when thinking about where I wanted to go to school and what I wanted to do, I was thinking about all my hobbies in high school. So that was music and drawing and all these things that I felt like, I don't know if I want to go to school as an art major. Like I'm perfectly happy doing what I do on my own time. But architecture seemed like a nice thing that required the level of creativity and the variety of disciplines I was interested in, while still being something that you actually needed a degree in order to do. And after a 5-year architecture program, like you're ready to be licensed. And so I thought like I have everything I need from school, and I'm perfectly happy to continue my learning journey on my own. And even by that point, this is 2010, but I was already like using YouTube and a lot of forums as much as I could to teach myself.
Uh-oh. Somebody's
Are they looking for you? Did they
someone
find you?
No, someone is perishing.
Oh, God.
Unfortunately. It always happens during stream. Stream's the only way to summon a calamity. Like by starting a Twitch stream, like I swear it's quiet all day. I press the go live button, someone is dying. That's how it
Yeah.
works.
when I lived in Brooklyn, I mean that was 24 hours a day, and when I finally moved up here into the middle of the woods, north of New York City now, it was very strange to like not hear sirens and ambulances all the time. It took me probably a good year to stop expecting it.
Yep, that's that sounds about right. City life versus country life. Um, that's that's cool. So okay, take us further down the timeline a little bit because like we have a oh, and then someone else is trying to be awesome.
They're
Uh,
racing the ambulance or fire truck or whatever that was. Yeah,
yeah, it's like it's an insurance person.
it's a Better Call Saul kind of guy. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. The sorry, so take us further down the timeline here. So you have all of this passion and energy. By the way, before I lose it, I've seen Wax.
Oh wow, that is a deep cut. Nice.
Wax. Do you want to tell people what Wax stands for?
Yeah, so that stood for Watch Alex Coulombe Talk Stuff. And a little background on that, before I had kids, I always tried to pick like a 1 year project, which would be just like a thing that I'd focus on for 1 year and say, like, that is done. I put that in a box and it's over with. Previous things for that involved theater things like plays and putting on shows. I think the year before I did Wax, I did The Productive Commuter, which was a blog about my commute changing and suddenly trying to figure out how my productivity was going to change when I then needed to take an hour, 45-minute train, among other things, to get to the office every day. And that was a fascinating blog. And then, yeah, and I was like, oh, I'm going to be a dad. I'm going to have kids. It would be really interesting to document what I am doing leading up to having children. And then, I think I still covered the first couple months after my first son was born. And I would go through all these different segments of like, here's video games I'm playing, here's a cool theater thing I saw, here's something I wrote, and here's all the different creations that I've been working on. And I thought that'd be a really interesting time capsule to compare to times like now, where I am so busy and couldn't possibly find time to do all the things I was doing then.
Yeah, it is a really good time capsule. Like that's totally a good way to put it. It's really fun. So if you just look Alex up, you can find this video series where he's talking about a lot of the media that he was watching at the time, and it's really fun. And you're really fun because you're like, I think the first episode I'm like, you said something like I am a man of many passions or something like that. So someone like you, a man with many passions, you go off, you get your architecture degree, you get licensed. How does the whole VR thing start?
The VR thing starts pretty suddenly. I remember sitting at Fisher Dax Associates Theater Planning and Design in 2012, seeing the Kickstarter video. And I should mention, by the way, leading up to being there, I'd worked for a few different architecture firms, the Breadloaf Corporation, VIP Structures, Zimmer Gunsel Frasca Architects, who have a wonderful office out in Portland, Oregon, where I got to live out of a hotel for a month working for them, Raphael Vignoli, and then someone at my alumni office in Syracuse, Connie Caldwell, had messaged me and said, hey, Alex, you like theater things. I remember how when you were in architecture school, you were always trying to turn your projects into a theater. A professor would be like, hey, Alex, we're going to do restaurants this semester. And I'd be like, but can it be a dinner theater? And they'd be like, no. And I'm like, ah. And so she said, do you want to investigate working at a company that exclusively designs theaters? And I thought, well, I'm pretty happy working at ZGF Architects, probably not, but I'll go take a look. And I imagined, kind of like a lot of architecture firms have floor samples and wall samples, and maybe this firm will have theater chair samples and stage rigging samples. And I walked in through the door and I was like, oh, that's exactly what they have. And I really hit it off with the owner of the company, Joshua Dax. I kind of felt like being in Willy Wonka's chocolate factory, just this incredible museum of theater stuff. The co-founder, Jules Fisher, has been lighting up Broadway. He has 9 Tony Awards for the past like 60 years, and there's posters all over the office of every show he worked on. And I was like, oh, I absolutely need to work here. And so I was kind of a standard architect for the first, 6 months to a year that I started working there, helping to design places like the Shed at Hudson Yards, some work at Lincoln Center, Situ Center for Performing Arts in China. And then I saw that Kickstarter video and I thought, like, well, I can see that they're clearly making the DK1, which is actually right behind me.
Yeah, what's the Kickstarter for?
The Kickstarter was for the Oculus Rift DK1, which is right in the corner of my
Oh,
feed right here.
okay.
And Yeah, so the very first development kit, so that was Palmer Luckey being like, "This is going to revolutionize gaming." I think the tagline was "Step into the game," and I thought, like, I don't care about gaming for this. I care about making my life easier, because so much of my job as an architect was trying to convince people that our idea for the building was a good idea. And I'll give you a dumb example, which would be like, we'd be showing 5 different ways that a seat could be configured looking at the stage, and we would show renderings and a plan drawing and a sectional drawing of like, here's the sight lines, here's exactly what it'll be like to be there. But people still don't get it. Most people are not literate in how to understand space,
Mhm.
and so they might make comments like, well, the head in front from this position, the head looks really close, I don't know if that's a good choice. And you'd be like, well, I mean, the head is 3 feet away. That's a standard distance to be away from someone's head inside a theater. I don't think you should discount that seat option just for that reason. Or they might say something like, the stage looks really far away. And you'd be like, no, it's like 45 feet away. Like, that's not that far away. Because they're like, maybe we should just delete the seat entirely. And so you'd have these kind of pedantic conversations with a client or a collaborator. And it was usually pretty frustrating, especially if you actually, want to get to the meat of a few really well thought out design options. And my first thought with seeing virtual reality was like, oh, well, if we could just put people inside a headset, and then they are going to know exactly what it's like to be, inside the theater, then we can all be on the same page, and then we can have more interesting conversations. And of course, I found immediately, once I convinced Joshua Dax to buy the headset for the office, and I convinced him that I was going to have it up and running in like a week. I didn't know Unity or anything like that at the time, so it took a couple weeks to like build an experience where we could jump to every seat in our 3D model and cycle design options and cycle the things on the stage. Once I had done that, the utility was immediately there. Like by January of 2014, we were bringing all of our clients into these 3D models of our spaces, and they'd be like, "Oh, okay, like I get it." And we'd cycle through, different seat options, and they'd be like, "Well, I think the third one feels really good." And then we'd start to get into the meat of these design decisions, where they'd be like, "Oh, the railing actually feels a little bit too tight here. Could we push it back a little bit? And also, it's a little bit sharp. I don't know if we like the edges that way. Could there be a little more curvature? Could we have a little bit more of a Bezier curve there?" And it's like, oh, great. Like now we can get into these nuanced design discussions that we never had time for when we were showing them more traditional representations of the building.
Yeah, that's awesome. That makes sense because I feel like the same principles are probably, and you can confirm this, right? Like it's probably true in any XR job. It's like there's kind of no good substitute for just seeing stuff
Mm-hmm.
and being in the game, as they
Yeah.
say.
As
That's
Palmer says.
that's really cool because I feel like when I have to pitch on stuff, like typically what I try to do is make it as visual as possible without losing money for time.
Yeah.
Like that's the hard part is like how much time do I have to dedicate a visual to this? There was a yeah, it's that's always a challenge, but like that like what at the time I don't like no one else was doing that, right? Like I imagine no one else is doing like VR previews of how to build theaters, right? This is like a totally new thing.
Yeah, yeah, and I definitely couldn't find anyone else who was doing that at the time, and we had a lot of fun discussions about trying to like standardize it and create something that anyone could use. We talked to like Ticketmaster and Live Nation at a certain point about like, do you think this would be useful for when people buy seats and they could see 3 different options and see the different prices and
Oh
understand
wow.
why the one that costs $20 more is actually worth it because you're that much closer to the stage. And none of that went anywhere, but it was still fun to be exploring how that could branch out into other directions. And I can actually say one really cool direction it did go is I gave a talk in 2015 at the New York virtual reality meetup group about some of the theater stuff I was doing. And there was a company called Bravo Media in the audience who does beautiful projection mapping work. And they had been hired by The Late Show with Stephen Colbert right during the transition from, I almost said Ed Sullivan, the transition from David Letterman to Stephen Colbert in the Ed Sullivan Theater. And Stephen had wanted to do this like Church of Stephen Colbert chapel kind of effect on this in the little dome at the top, and he wanted to paint it, and they're like, no, it's a historic building, you can't paint it. And so Bravo Media was hired to do projection mapping up there,
That's
but the
cool.
timeline was very limited, and they didn't really think that there was going to be any way with their traditional workflow to figure out how many projectors, where they should be, what the throw distance of them should be. And so they asked me if I wanted to help them come up with like a simple VR application that would help drive projectors along the grid, like place them in different places, basically use the same code that I was using to pretend you're a person in a theater, and instead have you looking through the projectors and toggling a few different options. And it was very cool because we were able to sit down with a few people and very, very fast, like, get those basics out there. Like, okay, we want 5 projectors about here, 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 and here. And then they could fine tune it. Then they could get like much more precise using their other traditional methods. But I started to find that VR, especially from a gestural creative perspective, could often get people 90% of the way there with their design process. And so it always made me sad too when I started to see people using VR just for visualization, just for saying, like, let's take a
Mm.
look at how this will look now. Like, I always wanted to be actively changing the design from within VR. And I started to give talks about what I called designing from the inside out.
Yeah. Okay. And then so like the thrust of that being like this is cool, but like we should do something inside this.
Yeah.
That's so awesome, which I feel like is a perfect segue to what you're doing now.
Sure, yeah, and I can very quickly zip us to the present because I was
Yeah.
doing first virtual reality theaters of physical spaces. Then I started to pre-visualize shows that were going to happen in physical spaces. We did a bunch of work with the Park Avenue Armory. A big highlight for me was in 2014 doing Kenneth Branagh's Macbeth, which was over in Manchester, England, and then he was bringing that over to the Park Avenue Armory, which, for those who don't know, is a New York City venue that is an entire New York City block. It is huge, and you can do so many crazy custom performances in there. You can flood the space. You can have a crazy immersive theater setup. And Macbeth was basically Game of Thrones live. And so
Yeah.
to start to block out, where are these 100 extras doing their sword fight going to be? Where are we going to position all the audience members? Where's the light and the set design? And we made some really good discoveries looking at that production in VR. Like, oh, most of the audience isn't going to see half of the extras in some of these battle scenes. So VR was a tremendously useful tool there. And then as time went by, still doing shows that were happening in physical spaces, theaters that were eventually going to be built, we started to think, like, well, wouldn't it be cool if we didn't have to feel so constrained by the real world? Because some of these designs, some of these experiences feel really exciting until you start actually talking about real world budgets and physics and those kinds of constraints. So in 2018, I was speaking at a conference in Boston from VR Voice. Philip Rosedale, the founder of Second Life, and I were both speaking there. And I grabbed him after his talk and just started to talk about his platform, High Fidelity, which was a social VR platform, not unlike VR Chat or Altspace, and was saying how,
R.I.P.
yeah, I know,
Pour one out.
RIP, exactly, I know,
Yeah.
and same thing with his as well. They pivoted into a spatial audio direction, but at the time, we both saw tremendous potential in what could happen inside of venues like that. So fortunately, I told him that I knew a lot of really talented theater people in New York City, and convinced him to fund us as I, gathered together this super group of incredibly talented people that I'd come to know over the past few years to do all these studies. And so we were all working together to figure out, like, what's the best genre for a VR performance? What should the avatars look like? What kind of performance works and what doesn't? What should the audience dynamic be with the performer? Should the venue feel more like a traditional theater, because then you have that ritual of, like, sit down, lights up, lights down, and everyone knows to expect? Or should we take more advantage of the medium and make it feel more like immersive theater? And we learned a ton from that. And so we eventually found, for example, that improvisational performers were really good at working in VR, because anytime the tech would have a hiccup, if something would go wrong, they could make it work. They could still put on an entertaining show, even if their arm was completely broken or flying off in some strange direction. Whereas we found more traditional performers who, like, wanted to nail that soliloquy from Shakespeare, they'd feel a little bit frustrated by, like, the tech isn't behaving exactly the way I want. This isn't a perfect representation of my body. I don't like this so much. And so
Hmm.
certainly framing it all as something that could be a little bit more like puppeteering, like mask work, that started to be a really useful way when we were collaborating with others. And so then, yes, as time went by, it basically became like, yeah, we still want to work on, physical spaces and physical shows when we can, but also how cool to also find opportunities for virtual shows and virtual spaces and not worry about it existing in the real world at all.
So is that about the time? Like, are you still working at the architecture firm that's building theaters as you're doing those projects?
Right. I always forget to say that part of the story. So I continue
The
to work
fun
at
part is the
Fisher Dax.
work.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So I continued to work at Fisher Dax for a couple years. And as time went on, I was still being asked to do standard architecture stuff. And I was happy to do that, a lot of really exciting projects. But I always found myself, like, looking forward to the moment I could say I was done for the day so I could go home and like focus on learning another cool thing in Unity for making an exciting VR project. And then anytime in the office where there was an opportunity to do something in VR, I jumped on that as well. And even if it was like really quick and dirty, like I remember working on the shed at Hudson Yards, which is a crazy custom space,
Hmm.
and the grid space up there, we were having a lot of trouble understanding what was going to be possible in terms of hanging different theater equipment there. And so I very quickly, we were in Revit. I did a section box around the Revit model, just grabbed the grid space, brought that into Unity, and within a few hours had mocked up a way for us to walk through that grid space in VR with a 4-foot stick and a 6-foot stick, literally just a child of the pawn. And like as you go around, you could be like, will the equipment fit here? No. Will the equipment fit here?
Oh
No.
wow.
And yeah, it was like a really dumb way, and we just had like the key plan pulled up, so we're just putting like X's and circles around like where would be the right places to put the equipment we needed to specify. So I was always trying to find like what's a rough and dirty way to do VR. We don't need to worry about it being public facing. We just need it to work for this particular moment. Anyways, around 2014, 2015, I started to feel like, I like being an architect. I like being a theater architect even more than being a regular architect. And I felt the like embarrassment of riches here. A lot of architects get stuck working in jobs that they just do not actually like, and they're
Right.
specking bathrooms for their whole life. And I was
Oh.
definitely doing that at the beginning of my career work at places like Raphael Vignoli. And what I started to realize was like I'd really like to focus full time on virtual reality. But then I started to look into completely starting my own company from scratch, and I was like, boy, this looks hard. And like, I'm freshly married, and I'm trying to figure out if I can have kids sometime, and it just feels like a lot to start my own company. And then one day, Josh Dax, again my boss, calls me into his office, and he's like, Alex, so I kind of feel like you might be thinking about starting your own company. And I'm like, what? No, why would you say that, Josh? I want to work here forever. And he's like, look, man, I can tell that you're really passionate about this emerging industry. I want to help you succeed in that. I can also tell that you probably don't want to deal with all the like day-to-day business operations side of things, the billing department, the administrative work, the maybe even the marketing team. So how do you feel about us co-founding a company together? And you can do all the things you want to do in virtual reality, and you can keep working in this office, and you can keep using, the Adobe and the Autodesk licenses and all that useful stuff. And then we'll just kind of give you a chance to find your footing with this company. And I said, boy, that sure does sound a lot less risky and a lot more fun than me trying to do this totally by myself. And so Agile Lens started around 2015, first in kind of an internal capacity, just figuring out all the ways we could support Fisher Dax Associates and our sister company there, Fisher Moran Stone, and our other sister company, Jules Fisher's group, Third Eye. And then we started to talk to like the architecture firm upstairs, FX Collaborative, and visualizing like their version of the Statue of Liberty Museum on Liberty Island. And so we started to branch outside of theaters and do more and more architecture work, and then more and more real estate work. And then as time went on, we also gained the eye of companies like Intel and Samsung and Magic Leap and HTC, and started to be asked if we could, use this new and emerging tech that we were going to be sent early to create some really compelling demos. So that became really fun as well. We love prototyping, and anytime someone says like, I don't know if this is possible, but, and we say like, we want to help you find out.
Oh my gosh, yes, yes, 100% that, yes, like completely. Oh man, that's awesome. That seems like that almost seems like more rare than some founder stories, because I feel like a lot of it is like, yeah, like I did the thing and I cranked the midnight oil and I drank a lot of Mountain Dew and like I did was my own billing department for 10 years and then finally it worked or something like that. But like that's not always that's not like a great story, when people are like just talking about all of the the slog. Like what's cool stories are also like about partnerships and about like the having people in your life that help make things possible, because no one like really gets there on their own.
Yeah,
um
for sure.
yeah, so that's cool and like really refreshing to hear. And like, and you're still at Agile Lens, so I feel like that means there's some resolution of like that works pretty well for you.
Yeah, it's working well. And the
Yeah.
past year in particular has been really exciting. Ever since speaking at Unreal Fest and then doing that 2.5 hour live stream with Victor Broden, I've suddenly become like the de facto, like Alex knows everything about Unreal and VR, which I don't, but like it means a lot of people want to talk to me when they're starting a new ambitious project.
So I mean, having built like one VR like tech demo level game myself, like
Yeah.
I don't. That's like we need that. Just roll with it, dude. Like just and then don't go anywhere, please. Like
Right.
it's yeah. Seriously, because like Unreal is a super cool place to build VR stuff. Especially as they're making more and more of the the heavy duty rendering pipelines available in VR and like more elements of it. It's like obviously going somewhere really really cool. Like we need people who have like sort of like the up to date information on like what to do with it because it changes so fast.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the stuff I built in I built like the game I built in 5.0, like Unreal 5.0. Like I would be kind of probably a totally different process now in like the new 5.2 that's going to come out any day now, unless you know more specifically than I do when it comes out. He's probably not allowed to talk about that.
Yeah, and I can say interestingly too. One thing I want to make clear, because some people assume I am an employee of Epic Games. I am not. I am an Unreal authorized instructor, which means that I am in the official Unreal Engine Slack channel, and so I do get to see a lot of like what's coming down the roadmap and what's coming down the pipeline. And there is confidentiality and an NDA in place, but
Sure.
it also means that I'm still allowed to have like my own opinions, and I can say like I'm pumped about this feature and I wish Unreal would focus more on like the development of this feature, and I'm not going to get in trouble.
I'm, don't don't worry. The funny internet cartoon man's not going to ask you any dicey questions. The so I think that's actually that's a question I've wanted to ask you pretty badly. Is like, okay, so you've done stuff in Unity, you've done stuff in Unreal Engine, like you're authorized, you work with Epic on a lot of stuff. So and we also know there's a lot of people in this chat who I've spoken with specifically about like VR workflows and like how like good ways to start a project, and we've had lots of conversations sometimes on my more technical live streams about like like the Steam VR library, which is getting deprecated, versus all the OpenXR stuff, and like how well or unwell it's been implemented and stuff. I'm curious now, when someone comes to you, obviously there's a lot of variables in any project, but I'm curious if you have any sort of guiding philosophies about how you pick what tools or tool sets that you start using when you begin to make something.
Sure. I still think of Unity as a really rapid place to just iterate and crank out ideas fast. We've built a lot of templates over the years that, especially for anything related to a theater, especially the architectural side of it, we can get things done very, very fast over there. The funny thing is that as much as people like to talk about how there's so many more Unity developers than Unreal Engine developers, I found that as soon as I started to play with Unreal in a meaningful way in 2017, the flock, I want to say, of like Unreal Engine dev community support went far beyond what I'd experienced in Unity. And that came from the actual other developers working in Unreal, as well as actual people from Epic Games. Like a month after trying the beta of Datasmith, I was posting in some Unreal Engine forums, and Ken Pimentel, who runs the AEC group at Epic, he immediately like emailed me and was like, "Hey, do you want to come speak at our booth at Autodesk University about what you're experimenting with here?" And I'd never had any kind of direct contact from anyone at Unity like that. So what's quite nice is at the moment it's all these tools. They're all great. They can all do the same things. I still use Unity sometimes if we're going to crank something out quickly, if we know it's going to have to be on lots of different platforms, if we're going to be doing a lot of volumetric work, because we still use applications like DepthKit. But in Unreal, I know that if I'm going to do anything custom that is possibly unprecedented and has never been done before, I'm going to get a lot more help along the way from the Epic community and the Epic staff.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So like let's say I came to you and I was like, Alex, I have X many $100,000, $1,000,000, $1,000,000,000. I'd like you to make me a VR game where I am able to like shoot. Like I gotta get better on my on the fly concepts here. But like it's a game, and you can go inside a theater, and then like we're gonna have like an interactive play in it or something like that. But like we need to be able to support all headsets or something like that. It's gonna be a executable game or something like that. Like it doesn't have, you don't have to take my example here, but I am curious, like do you have any mainstays? Like I've heard you talk about how you enjoy Tilt Brush and Gravity Sketch and stuff. Is there any universal tools you're like, well, I gotta do this? An example for me is like I have an iPad with an Apple Pencil, and that thing is like central to my life
Yeah.
in a weird way.
Well, I think it's important to note that Agile Lens, of course, is not just me, and I've got a lot of really talented people working with me now, many of whom come from architectural backgrounds, and so some of them do a beautiful job of treating a new project like something that deserves all these sketches on an iPad with an Apple Pencil, that kind of thing. I tend to stay more inside of VR, so I am more likely to be in tilt brush or gravity sketch, starting to block out like what it'll be like to move through an experience in a very gestural way, just thinking like, do we want this space tight, do we want this space bigger, et cetera, et cetera. I think I can mention that we're doing a project for Dell right now that'll be at their event in May. This will be with a company called Fair Worlds who brought us on for it, and like it's going to be kind of like a pistol whip experience where there's like a lot of stuff coming at you. And so
It's a
the
fun game.
discussions we're having right now are very much like, let's just understand the basic blocking of like how it feels to be inside this VR experience, what the general pacing should be, what the interaction should be. And all of that came from, learning what was the appropriate stages to show inside VR in architectural design. If you show something too photorealistic too soon, or it's just not appropriate for the design in general, it just completely throws the conversation off. Sometimes
Mm,
something that's more conceptual, something that's massing, something that's sketchy lines that imply space without being too rigid about it. That makes a profound impact. And in fact, I do want to call out a VR experience that I still show people. There's a lovely guy named Matt Colley in Brooklyn. He has a company called Borrowed Light Studios, and he made an experience maybe 2015, 2016. That was the Night Cafe. This was a virtual experience of Vincent van Gogh's painting, The Night Cafe, peppered with all these other 3D representations of other Van Gogh pieces. And I remember going into that experience for the first time and being like, this is the ultimate potential of VR, to quote Kent By, kind of, because what I felt there was a world that felt totally believable, even though it was completely divorced from my reality. Everything in this world was following the laws and logic of a Van Gogh painting. The way the brush strokes were very gestural, and like no wall was quite straight, and the way the
mm,
characters were moving around, and the way that instead of like light having a normal glow, it had like the starry night kind of glow, because he did that in a bunch of his paintings. And that's the kind of thing I think about all the time, is like a project doesn't need to look like any other medium. It doesn't need to look photoreal or like a particular cartoon or a particular style. It just needs to work within its own internal logic. And so, I try not to hold many assumptions when we start a new project about what that ultimate end result is going to be. And as much as possible, I try to find it along the way. And very quick detour about like, business practices. We do things at an hourly rate on retainer, because
mm.
we can't tell people most of the time how much something is going to cost or how much time it's going to take. Of course, if there's a deadline, like we're going to get it done by the deadline, but we're very hesitant these days to say that we have everything planned out based on, a 1 hour preliminary call. And so it's been really nice actually putting my foot down with Agile Lens and being like, you're going to hire us and we are going to find along the way what this project needs to be its best self and live its best
Mm.
life.
Yeah, I feel like you need to be a theater kid to be able to make that sort of assertion. You know what I mean? Like you have
Yeah.
to like be the kind of person who's comfortable getting on a stage and being like, "Hey, everybody, look at me. I'm gonna not fuck this up."
Yeah. Yeah.
But,
That
but
tightrope act.
yeah, that's really cool. Actually, so you made a great point. So I'm I love talking about workflows, but you said like, okay, I work with a lot of really talented people, and there you have access to developers and artists and probably whoever you need to find for the job. So that's is actually something I wanted to ask you about, is because I follow you on YouTube and Twitter, and you are still very actively involved yourself in a lot of the workflow stuff. So and do you feel like maybe it would be easy or possible or tempting or horrifying for you to just kind of like focus more on the business end of things? Because I imagine I don't know, like what do you think that is in you, that you stay up on all these things? What do you think that does?
Yeah, it's a great question to be asking me literally right now, because I am now at that point where I can delegate just about anything that I want to. Pretty much any aspect of any of our projects happening right now, I can find someone to hand it off to and not worry about micromanaging them, and they will do a great job. So in theory, as the CEO of Agile Lens, like I should be spending as much of my time as possible finding our next project and doing business development and that sort of thing. But I really like being in the weeds and touching as many aspects of a project as possible. Um, there's a really wonderful mentor I've had over the past few years, Jerry Ellsworth, who's the CEO of Tilt 5. And if you don't know her story, like she's gone through it in immense detail on several podcasts. Like she was a professional race car driver, like age 14, and had a company called Cast AR that raised a ton of money and then had too many cooks in the kitchen and kind of imploded. And the way she's running Tilt 5 right now, I find so inspirational. And Jerry is one of these people who didn't want to be a CEO because she is inherently an engineer who wants to be getting her hands dirty, soldering things together. But I think she's found a really nice way to balance that with the needs of, I think she phrased it to me as like holding the candle of the vision of the company so that she's sure that it's not going to take off in any directions that she isn't comfortable with.
Hmm.
And mind you, it's a little bit different when they're, trying to sell a product, whereas we're still taking a lot of different assignments in kind of a fun way. Though I should mention, we do want to productize a few of the things we're doing. But I think about her words a lot when deciding, where to put my time and where to put my hours. And so I do kind of insist on, being inside any Unreal Engine project that there's a repo for. I want to have it locally on my computer. Same thing in Unity, even though I don't touch Unity nearly as much as I used to. I want to maintain not just the view of the forest, but also be in there with that one oak tree sometimes and be like, how is this oak tree how are things developing, and is there anything I can do to improve this without stepping on anyone's toes?
Oh my goodness. Yeah, that's incredibly inspiring because I feel like there's a lot of people who get into anything because they love the craft and not
Mm-hmm.
necessarily because they want to manage or to lead. Like and I think a lot of people are happy to do those things, but not if they have to like sacrifice the other. So like talking about your mentor saying like, okay, this is like how I make sure the vision of the company's on track is by like staying in those, and like even if I'm not doing everything in it, like that's really cool. Like that's something that's gonna stay with me after this is over for a while. Um,
Cool.
it's super awesome. Um, all right, big shift. You wanna do a this is different direction. All right, AI stuff is happening. Do you have feelings about it? I have different feelings about it every day.
I think I'm on the same boat as you. It's inevitable. Like no one can stop this stuff from happening, despite what the
Yeah,
AI pause movement would like to say. I am very much of the opinion, and this isn't controversial, I think, that it's not that AI is going to replace any of us. It's that people using AI will replace people not using AI. It's a
yeah,
tool like anything else. I do see a direction where there's going to be a lot less starting from scratch. We're going to be thinking more as curators than potentially creators, where like, yes, we'll know how to do a good text prompt, but it'll be like, okay, I just generated 4 different ideas of what this could be based on some text, and now I'm going to select the one that is most to my taste for what direction we want to go moving forward.
hmm.
And then hopefully you're taking that, and that's your raw clay, and you're shaping that into something that has more of a human touch. Because the other thing too is I think that as much as AI is improving, especially the younger generation, is always going to be very sensitive to what was made by AI and what wasn't. I don't think we'll ever reach a point where it is completely indistinguishable to everybody. For
Hmm.
the older generation, sure, but I think of it a lot like the uncanny valley. Like I could show a movie, like I think of the first Final Fantasy movie that came out, which was all CG, and like to my parents it was like, oh my god, that looks so photorealistic, and I was like, I could tell that was like a video game cutscene. And I think the same kind of stuff will happen now as AI progresses.
Yeah. I know it's interesting because like, um, I was in preparation for this listening to you speaking on someone else's podcast, and you said specifically, I think this was pre Chat GPT, but I think
Mm-hmm.
you were talking about Mid Journey, and you
Mm-hmm.
mentioned something that's kind of bothered me about all of it. Like, I like it and I hate it because like the fact that Chat GPT codes is like all stolen from public repos that they didn't
Yes.
have licenses for.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's not equitable in any way.
Yeah.
Like in my opinion, and I think you feel the same based on like I wouldn't just throw that one at you if I didn't like already listen to you talking about much the same thing earlier on someone else's show. But yeah, I always just kind of feel this tension between those two things. But then I also feel like there's a lot of there's a lot of societal stuff that is kind of built on top of really inequitable situations anyways that like
Yeah.
we live with day to day. Like owning an iPhone is like kind of a or any of these devices we're using in the XR world, like
Hmm.
is there those aren't made under great conditions. Like we know that. Like we know that they're not that they're it's maximum leverage across the globe, which doesn't mean humane working conditions for people. So like I don't yeah, I guess like the thing I'm always like kind of stuck in my head about is like am I supposed to come up with like some principles for like how to use this better? Like I have plenty of ideas on how to use AI. Like I have like a bunch of cool thoughts about it. But the like I'm not sure like I'm not sure there's always a way to tell if the way you're using AI does good like ethics math. I'm
Hmm.
not an ethicist or anything, you know? That
Yeah.
do you have anything on that? And it's okay if it's just me being like, "Hey Alex, like and then just like proceeding to tell you something that really is ought to go to my therapist instead. And you're like, if totally fine if you're like, I don't know, man, like, fine.
Yeah, I think we'll see companies emerge that hopefully tackle this in better ways. Certainly, I would love any kind of Midjourney or Chat GPT-esque platform that like keeps some tally or record of where it's sourcing everything from and can distribute micropayments to everyone who participated in how it was able to arrive at its solution. Because if there's thousands and thousands and thousands of queries a day that are using a little piece of what you did, that can add
Yeah.
up. And I felt that a little bit. One of the ways I was getting a creative outlet back when I was working in harsh architecture environment conditions was I was doing a lot of creative work on a website Joseph Gordon-Levitt started called Hit Record.
Oh yeah,
And yeah, and
I
so
remember that.
I won an Emmy. Like I got a certificate because something that I like contributed to in a small way had won Emmy awards. And so similarly with that, like there might be one uh 20-minute video that 12,000 people had contributed to, and there's like a nice public source kind of system for distributing those payments. And like I probably made a grand total of like $180 for
Heck yeah.
yeah, for stuff that
You
like I
made
was
that
perfectly
YouTube
happy to do for
money.
free. Yeah,
That
exactly.
the normal YouTube money.
Exactly. Yeah. And so I like to think there's some future where that kind of stuff is happening. I also am kicking myself because I can't remember the name of who said this, but I was listening to one of Kara Swisher's podcasts today, and
Was
she
it
was
the
interviewing.
Succession one?
No, not the Succession one, although that one's great. So I'm
It
now
is
listening.
great.
I'm listening to three Kara Swisher podcasts at the moment,
Oh, nice.
including the Succession one. But she was interviewing someone today who was talking about they use like a more ethical Chat GPT that gives you points for doing things to cut down on your carbon footprint, and so it's like helping to incentivize, making better choices for the planet. And so it's using that kind of open, Chat GPT algorithm to, when you say like, hey, what restaurant should I eat at, or where should I go on this trip or whatever, it'll give you the choice that is like the most carbon friendly and will reward you for that somehow. And I'm sure I'm butchering the exact way it
Hmm.
works, but I hear something like that and I'm like, okay, that's headed in a better direction. It's using the tippy top of what these tools can do, but it is trying to maintain some kind of ethicism to it that hopefully we would imagine the math can work out in a way that you don't regret ever using it in the first place.
Hmm. Yeah, I sure hope so. Like, I sure hope so. Like, it's like, especially as people start moving towards autonomous tools that, like, kind of check back in with you after they just did who knows what. Like, it's kind of like, it's just like, oh, geez. Like, I hope that, like, in the process of, like, bringing me like gosh, I don't actually. That's a better thing to talk about. I am seeing like people running off with like tools that are extremely powerful right now, and I don't know what I would want to do with them. Like, there's so few things that I would want a robot to just come up with for me, like without any sort of like my own intention being put into it. And I think that comes down to something I thought specifically, like I'm thinking specifically of you. Like, you have
Mm-hmm.
an artist's background, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's so few parts of the process that I don't find compelling or part of like the overall part of a project.
Yeah.
Like so like the weird way I'm writing a blueprint might end up kind of like triggering some other weird idea down the road. And like it all kind of curves, and everyone like like I might have an animation idea from like a weird thing the wind did to a leaf,
Yeah.
which is like super pretentious to say, but like the just like the interconnectedness of all of it, and like the way any like really good piece of work is like connected to like your human will, Like
Hmm.
I feel like the people who have the best leverage over AI stuff are like the people who are like figuring out how to do stuff with it where they don't really have to touch it at all. And it's like
Mm.
all I really want to do is make stuff that's like a from me to you thing. And that's
Yeah.
so much of like what you're doing with theater is like that whole like that gift between the two of us, like the gift of time, the gift of presence, of being together, and of like an intention. Like here's my, like here's this like beautiful moment that we share, and I like, an artist, an actor is bringing that into reality.
Yeah, and I think Mega Mocap VR in the chat just said something that resonates with me a lot. He says, computer set up my live stream for me, and then of course 20 fire trucks go by. But the idea of this technology starting to take care of some of the things that just require like time and labor, but no particular creativity, for that to start to being taken care of, so you are given time back
Yeah.
and you can spend your time doing the things that are more creatively fulfilling. Every time Unreal Engine comes out with like a new feature, some of which like I can't talk about, but I know are coming down the pipe that I'm specifically thinking of, and I'm like, this is going to save everyone so much time, and I love that when you start to think about like, I will now be able to do that thing that I didn't particularly love so much faster, so I can then get to the thing that I do love to do.
Yeah, I mean, like, totally. So like the my operating theory on this, is kind of just like, just don't automate the compelling parts.
Yeah,
Like if it feels compelling to you, like don't automate that. Like there's a like, like we don't need to have some beautiful things, but like the people who make them, it's so compelling. Like, it's like the reason we still have theater even though film exists, right?
yeah, right.
Yeah, yeah. Oh my gosh, it's cool. All right, guys, we're so like Alex and I've been talking for a little while. We're gonna sort of start. We're gonna begin to wrap this up here. If you guys have questions for Alex, like please leave them in the chat, and we're gonna try and come back to them before we're done with this. Before I make him play some trivia flip.
I'm
Alex,
excited.
Alex, are you ready to face all of these rascals in
I'm
the?
not ready at all, but we're gonna do it anyway.
Oh my goodness, that's theater. Yeah, right. That's like the stage fright intervention, right? That's the just no, I'm not ready, but we're gonna do this. I love it. Okay, yeah, all right. What are you working on right now that you're excited about that you're allowed to talk about?
Ooh, I can say that I'm working on an unprecedented arena scale VR experience in a custom built facility that I'll be able to say more about publicly soon, but I can say at least that much. And it has challenged most preconceived notions I had about what was possible in VR, because our client has a wonderful vision and keeps pushing us to go further than what I would have expected. We started working on the project in December, and I have people in Austin, Texas, who have not been able to leave since we went down a few days ahead of South by Southwest. And I'm very proud of everyone involved with this. It's a lot of teams, not just Agile Lens, making this thing happen, and to just be a part of that, and to think about what we're doing with ray traced photorealistic VR with a lot of crazy multiplayer stuff happening, is pretty cool. And you'll hear me talk more about that when I'm allowed to.
That's awesome.
Oh, and sorry, I do want to mention one quick thing too, where, because I want to evangelize this, and I can talk as much about it as I want.
Please.
Right after South by Southwest, when I had to leave some people behind, but brought other Agile Lens members to Tennessee, we went to a company called the Gateway Chamber Orchestra. And one of my favorite things to do with virtual reality and theater is to bring incredible performances to the world, especially for people who would never actually be able to physically go to that place. So we got to see a production called La Pasión Segunda San Marco, which is like a Latin fusion, incredible percussion
Oh,
take with like a 50-piece orchestra and singers and dancers, doing basically the Passion of the Christ story, but through St. Mark's perspective. And it was one of the most incredible live experiences of my life. And there were only like 150 people who saw the whole thing live, but we captured it with motion capture and volumetric capture and 360 video, and we got the dress rehearsals, and we got the 2 live performances, and we had a 3-hour patch session after, and we were given some money from a Google grant to turn this into something that could live on as like an archive, as like a VR 360 video on YouTube, and as like a 10 to 15 minute festival piece. And we are fine doing those versions, but like there is so much good quality footage from our terabyte hard drive of what we captured during that time,
hmm.
and we're like so eager to find like grants or anything that will let us keep building this out, because we would love to release like a full 90-minute long interactive experience divided out into chapters that like does our full vision for how we would like to share this piece with the world. But we're in the middle of that still. It's one of the only Unity projects we're doing at the moment,
Hmm.
and it's kind of fun to be dipping our toe in the fun things we can do there with the VFX graph and all that. But I'm very excited to share even what we've done so far with the world there. And the Gateway Chamber Orchestra are lovely, talented people, and I love when we work with people who are experts in their own creative field, like them as performers and conductors and all that, and they are totally game to try out a new emerging medium like VR and put their work in our hands to then evangelize and spread to the world.
That's super cool. That's super cool. Wait, sorry. I'm still wrapping my head around this. So like Jesus is dying, but someone's playing timbales? Like
Yeah, and you'd be surprised how well it works. Like it's a
that's
very
cool.
powerful emotional feat of performance. Everyone who's doing this is at the top of their game,
Wow.
and I became friends with as many people as I could there because I'm like, you're so good at playing the maracas or whatever they were playing. Like there are 1,000 different instruments on stage.
Oh gosh, man. Wow. That's it is high concept, but I believe you. Like, you know what I mean? Like that sounds super cool. Yeah. That's cool. All right, you ready for a little Q&A?
Let's do it.
Is there anything else we should cover right before, That seems like a good note to that's wish you well on that. That sounds very cool. I'm excited to be able to see more of that stuff publicly. I have seen you tweet about some of these things. I'm
Yeah,
excited.
yeah. There's a little video that's like just 10 seconds of what it was like to be on stage with like depth kit running to do volumetric capture and just kind of like panning around all the performers doing their thing.
That's super cool. Um, so okay, so I'm gonna start bringing up Q&A. The first one actually comes from me. Have you seen Synecdoche, New York? Do you know this
Oh, I
movie?
have. Oh my God. This
I
movie is
keep
such a precedent for me. Yes.
I feel like that's you a little bit, except in VR.
And
So
hopefully
this,
less depressing.
oh yeah, yeah, no, for sure. But there's and I was reminded about this movie today while preparing for this interview. Um, uh, gosh, I was also thinking of this while I was seeing Matt Workman post tweets about how he's built a virtual volume inside Fortnite.
Yeah, for
Um, this
UAFS.
is such a specific stream for such a specific audience. The in that movie, Philip Seymour Hoffman plays a pretty mentally ill guy who is trying to recreate moments from his life with theater, but then he starts recreating the recreations of it all, which lends itself very nicely to everything that's going on with the movements to like kind of theatricize the XR space that Alex is doing, but also like some of the things that people are doing in Unreal Engine. And anyways, go check that movie out if you haven't. Also, just prepare. It's like dark.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's sorry, I could not get that one out of my brain. All right, so a question we had what do you think about question what do you think about VTubers? Um
Mm.
is there a social or theater aspect to that space?
Yes, absolutely. And we would love to start taking some of the tools that we've been using for virtual theater shows. Like, for example, we have this production of Christmas Carol that we plan on doing every December till the end of time. And there's all these pieces we've developed for that where it's like, we should give this to VTubers. We should let VTubers use this to have more engaging, interactive experiences with their audience. For example, without too much work, like there'd be a way for you, Woody, to then take some of what we have and then say, hey, I'm doing my live stream on Twitch. Also, here's how you guys can join me in VR. And if you want to like just be hanging out in VR while I'm in my studio, we'll play some of our games, but it'll all be spatial now. And we'd love to start not just thinking in terms of like theater that's totally planned out and there's a script and all that, but allowing very talented VTubers like yourself to also just say, here's a link, hop into VR, and now you're in here with me.
Yeah, unfortunately, Alex, doing this interview is sort of a trap where you now will not be rid of me. I'll just be
Yes.
around and be like, hey, what were you saying about that VR stuff? Like a little zombie just popping up, or like the monster from It Follows, like coming out of the ocean or something like that.
Yeah.
Um, because that's super cool, and I'm excited about hearing about stuff like that. Something we talk about a lot in this community is like, oh man, like when are we gonna be able to do like multiplayer VR based VTuber
Yeah.
stuff? Like that's we know it's around the corner somewhere. Do you
We're
have
hiding it
any?
in our corner.
Nice. Well, now we know where it is. Everybody, let's time to break into Alex's stuff. Do you have insight into haptic feedback? do you think that that will become more accessible?
Yeah, I've been excited about haptic feedback for a long time. I remember contributing to the Kickstarter for the Woojer like audio suit because I was hoping that even though that's primarily just for like pumping headphone sounds through your body, that that would also start to become more localized, a little more like what you see with like a Tesla suit and some of that stuff these days. I think haptic feedback is really powerful. I would like to see it used for less violent reasons in general. Every time I've gotten a haptic suit demo, it's been like, here's what it feels like to be stabbed or shot through the back. And it's like, can't I just feel like a hug or like gentle rain falling on me? But it's like a lot of things. It's an immersion multiplier. And I think if done well, and if the friction of getting it set up and putting it on isn't too much, it will, be a better experience.
Mm, okay, that's cool. We'll go out on this one. This is a really good one from Mega Mocap. What is sorely lacking in VR?
Ooh, what is sorely lacking in VR? I mean, it's something a lot of people have said, but I'd say content in general. Like people keep talking about, oh, I'm so excited for the Quest 3 and the XR3 chipset and all this kind of stuff. Like, I think we have all the hardware right now that we need to do some incredible things. And we could pause the development of VR hardware right now. And I still think we could come up with something at least as meaningful as Beat Saber to grow this world and this community. And unfortunately, there just aren't enough people approaching this in a way that is very specific to VR. I think we have a lot of very talented creators that, for the most part, are still playing in this space and taking too much baggage from their other mediums with them. I know a lot of very talented theater creators where their notion is to put on a theater show, but just in VR, and game designers who are like, I'm going to make a game same way I would make a normal game, but I'm going to put it in VR.
Mm.
And I think there's a lot of good reasons why there's not more of this happening. It's hard to make a living doing work in VR and finding the right clients and being able to do what you want to. But like I think about in the early days of the Oculus DK1, and there was something called Oculus Share, which I loved as like a harbinger of what was going to come. It was just this website where everyone could just post little executables of like, here's the thing I made, requires DK2 because it has some motion capture. And
Right.
for those who don't know, the DK1 was basically Google Cardboard. But there were so many cool ideas being explored there. There was something where like every time you turned your head, when you turned your head back, there was like something that had changed. And there were experiences that just played with crazy art styles. And some of them felt like drug trips and some of them felt like totally novel locomotion methods. And I think that a lot of people have defaulted to some more standardized ways of doing things because it's easier and we like standardization for certain reasons. But I still think of this industry very much like the early days of film, and it's kind of like we're seeing the equivalent of someone plopping down a camera and being like, let's film a theater show. And it's like, cool, like now you have an archive of the theater show, that's useful. But over time, of course, we know that you start to develop wide shots and close-ups and cuts and even montage, and then you start to see a cinematic language develop that people had to learn how to understand. Like we can't show someone from the 1920s Mad Max Fury Road for a lot of reasons. I mean, but even if they weren't going to be confused by like, is that the future? They still have trouble like keeping up with the pace of the cuts and just understanding how to visually take all that in. Whereas,
They wouldn't even be able to understand what like Charlize Theron's character was. They'd just
right.
be like, they're like, who's that?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but if you take away the content of what's going on, like they still wouldn't know how to read the cinematic language of what's going on. Whereas we've all grown up seeing thousands of hours of film and television, and that makes sense to us without any kind of cognitive load. So I get excited when I see experiments in VR that start to push the cognitive load just a little bit, where there's enough skeuomorphism that's drawing from the real world and the familiar, but saying like, but we are going to have, this locomotion method that's totally different from anything you've ever seen. And once you get over that hump, you start to have experiences that would be totally impossible in the real world. And I love when creators are venturing out into those uncharted waters.
Cool. That's awesome. All right, I think that's it. Let's play a game show. You ready to
All right.
play a really wacky Unreal Engine game show with shoddy code that I wrote in a day?
Perfect. I did the same thing yesterday. I wrote a bunch of shoddy code and was like, here's the thing. So
oh man, we didn't talk about
me.
that. Yeah, I played your game that you wrote in a day, and that was my brain hurts a little bit, but I got a high score of 20, and you're
oh, Yeah, and I of course I gave no instructions. I didn't explain to anyone what it was. I'll say very briefly before we move on to your game that it's called Knock 'em Dead, and the whole object of the game is to strategically die at just the right moment to maximize your points. And so basically you want to like get up on a cliff and like throw yourself off the cliff and then die and see how many people your dead body can then knock over and rack up the highest score you can.
Oh. Oh, I had a different experience with it because I thought it was about pushing like all of the cubes and stuff into the people, which you can
Right, and you
do.
can do that too. But yeah, it's better to just throw your own dead body at everyone
I
and
found that
go
even
that way.
after I died, like I still had a collision volume on that could like get everybody, and I still had controls, so I like got
Yeah,
over 200.
exactly. And this is why it's important to release things early, like
Yeah,
when you design it in a day, because a couple people have pointed out to me, like, oh yeah, the camera has collision, so you can
yeah.
knock people over with the camera, and you can keep racking up points after you died. I might not have discovered that on my own, so if I wanted to keep developing this, that's useful feedback.
That's it's so okay. Yeah, I mean, it made me more comfortable about what you're about to see next. I'll say that because I'm finding every time we play this game, I find out that there's something else wrong with it.
Right.
um, all right, let's do it. Okay, here we go. Let's go over to our game show here. Game show setting. All right. I'm gonna let's see. Do we have the correct game? I don't know that we do. This looks like the incorrect game. Hold on one second.
Playing the
And
wrong game would be very theatrical.
yeah, I prefer that the guests of the show play the game that I told them we were gonna play. That would be good. Uh, is that one it? That one's it. There we go. All right. Excellent. All right. Mr. Alex Coulombe, you ready to play Trivia Flip?
I can't wait.
All right. Basically, what you have here is Jeopardy, but if you ever tell anyone that I said that, um,
We'll
well,
deny it.
yeah, absolutely not. And there's definitely no written live record of me having said it. So, um,
You're making me think of Succession with like, it'll be hard to deny considering she has
oh my
so
gosh,
much of your blood.
it's such a very specific timestamp if anyone ever watches these in the future. But oh my gosh, we could just talk about Succession. I have so many thoughts about it. All right, so here we go. So Alex, here's how this works. There's I am your Mr. Trebek, as it were. You are one contestant, and everyone corporately in the chat tonight is the other contestant, right?
So cool.
So because everyone in chat cannot communicate with us in real time, they're a good like 5 to 15 seconds behind us. You are the primary player, so you will typically have priority to choose which question you'd like, and then in chat, if anyone has like they will all have the opportunity to answer if you get the question incorrect, basically. So
Cool.
they have a couple advantages over you. They have the collective. They have more individual brains with individual experiences, as well. However, we will try to play it fast enough that they don't have time to Google anything. So
Great.
the speed of the game typically keeps it honest. So that's the nature of it. You can choose your first question. We start at the bottom and we work our way all the way down. Yeah, there. If for some reason a chat gets an answer right, they get the next question. They'll be able to start on it, and then it will go to you afterwards.
Love it. It's kind of like also Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, but the Ask the Audience is weaponized against me.
Yeah, it is. I mean, to be fair, I always speculated when I was a kid, like if I was on that show, like, are those people gonna be nice to me? Like, you know,
Sure. Yeah.
like, are they gonna try and tank this?
Yeah.
It was an
Don't
interesting show.
antagonize the audience, I think is lesson number one.
Yeah,
You want them to
probably.
root for you.
Yeah, exactly. So, all right, guys, everybody in the chat. Alex will now select the first question. Alex, what would you
I'll
like?
take Architects for 400, Woody.
Architects. It's going to start at 200.
Oh, 200. Yes. Right.
Yep. All right, Architects for 200. So, oh gosh, I should say I was like freaking like not super excited about this one because Alex knows more about all the stuff than I do. So like, this is gonna be thinking of trivia that might stump him is probably one of the more challenging contestants in this game that we're gonna have this year. So we'll go right back to it. Architects for 2000 or 200. Excuse me. This famous Spanish architect creates sculptural buildings that look biological, like the Oculus World Trade Center.
This who is Gaudí?
Oh.
Oh wait, I'm sorry. Oh,
That's incorrect. No, sorry. Your first guess is incorrect.
Yes.
It's open to chat now. It is open to chat.
Totally fair.
Chat, you get one guess, and then it's up to them.
Go chat.
Say the thing he said.
His first name is Santiago. He wasn't paying attention.
This is the moment, y'all. You have to say the line, chat.
That's really funny.
Oh no! 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Oh, trivia's closed. Nobody gets the point on this one, but it was
the Santiago.
Santiago. It was indeed Santiago Calatrava.
Yes.
So that's excellent. Alex, I'll let you pick the next one.
Great. Let's go to It's Pies.
It's Pies for 200. A pie good enough to force checkmate.
Ooh. What is the Queen's kiss?
No, that is incorrect. It is up to you, chat. Exclamation point TF. Remember, it's a Twitch command, so exclamation point TF before your answer. We got pecan pie. It's not a bad guess. This game unfortunately requires regional knowledge of pies. Bishop pie. Conceivably, there's so many pies out there. Like someone named theirs that, right? Like
yeah, sure.
All right. Oh, and off to the that was really my first one. Okay. This is simply enough. Chess pie.
What's that?
You've never had chess pie?
Never heard of chess pie.
So it is a south of the Mason-Dixon line sort of pie that probably came from just pie as like sort of like a like a neutral regular pie, so to speak. But it's just like I'm trying to describe it. It's like a little bit like I've had it before. I love it. It's one of my favorite pies. But it's a little bit like cheesecake.
Okay.
I suppose.
I'm so glad the chat is on my side and no one knows what this is.
I guess it's a pie I've had a lot of. So like I thought, of course they're gonna guess it's chess pie. All right, Alex, you have the board again.
All right. What's empty by? No, empty is literally empty, right?
It's literally empty.
Okay,
yeah.
Gotcha. I was like, ooh, what an enigmatic category.
It is actually quite hard to come up with like 25 to 30 trivia questions. So sometimes I just make 25.
That's fine. I think in the future it would be fun to have an empty category and all the answers are like null or like some kind of divide by zero error or something like that. Oh, there we go. Yeah, answer is 0. Yeah, that's fun. Let's try Unreal.
Unreal for 200. Unreal's newest scripting language for use in UEFN.
What is Verse, Tim Sweeney's language for the metaverse?
Let's see Verse. Verse. Mr. Alex Coulombe, you are on the board, sir.
Oh, let's go through the Unreal ones. 400 for Unreal.
Unreal for 400. Unreal's previous scripting language used before the release of Unreal 4.
Oof. Oh, man. Yeah, because I did not start using Unreal until Unreal 4. I want to say it was just called Unreal Script.
It's Unreal Script.
Okay, great.
All right, there you go. This is your chance to build the solid lead here.
Yeah, let's keep going through Unreal. Let's just go through the whole column.
Unreal for 600. Unreal is used by this company for real-time rendering inside of cars by this company because I'm writing poorly today.
Yeah, I've seen a few different car demos, but specifically the inside. I did a really amazing Audi VR demo. We'll see if that's the answer. I know BMW's done it too, but final answer Audi. That's
not the answer, and not for lack of it probably being correct, just like for my purview, I suppose. We're gonna put it to chat on this one, but I'm sure you're not wrong.
We'll see. If everyone,
I will say it's the most recently demoed one.
Yeah.
Also, if you get a Twitch chat from me saying that the chat is currently unavailable, it's definitely available. I don't.
This chat command is
It's
going
what
wild.
I spent a long time just like looking at the code today and just being like, what is going on? It just do it anyways, and if you get it, then I get the command because the game is rigged. Yeah, no. So the correct answer for this one was Rivian.
Oh, Rivian. Oh, right, like the incredible tech demo that they did
Right.
at GDC, of course. Yes.
Right. I thought that would kind of be on the tip of everyone's tongue there.
Right,
Um,
right.
Yeah. Oh, Dead Sun Prime just shy,
Oh, right
shy
there.
there.
Yeah. But
So
yeah,
close.
the Rivian demo was amazing. I mean, just to see
Yeah.
the splashing and the opal, paint, so cool.
Yeah, it was very neat. Would you like 800? Would you like to move on?
Yeah, let's keep going.
All right. The Unreal Engine node. This Unreal Engine node gets compiled in its own VM.
Ooh, what is the timeline node?
You know what's funny about this? I learned this on your podcast.
That's great.
I didn't actually know that. I found that out on your podcast.
Yeah, and I don't think it was me who said it. I think Jacob called that out, perhaps.
Duct Tape DevOps, thanks for the sub. Appreciate it. Yes, but you were definitely privy to it. So that was you. Let's get you those points. Steady lead here. I've seen bigger leads, so like you never know what could happen.
Yeah.
Sometimes chat takes you at the end. The 1,000? You want that one?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, cool. This music company was acquired by Epic in March of 2022.
What is Bandcamp?
Bandcamp. That still blows my mind.
Yeah, and quick story on that too. So Epic has a headquarters in New York City, which I'm allowed to visit at will since I'm part of like the internal Epic team. But it's mostly people from Bandcamp and Super Awesome and Sketchfab there. Almost no people there know anything about Unreal Engine.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah.
And fun. Do you ever just go there and just like talk about music stuff with those guys?
Yeah, they do like parties. I actually missed a trivia night that they did on Tuesday that I wish I could have gone to.
That brings us full circle, doesn't it?
Yes.
Oh, right. Okay, back to the game. All right, so we're out of Unreal stuff.
Yeah. Let's try VR for 200.
VR for 200. This is the one where I was like, there's no way I'm going to come up with stuff he doesn't know about this. The first headset created by Oculus.
The Oculus DK1, which is over behind me somewhere.
The DK1, yeah, but like, what's the name of that? That's Developers Kit 1, right?
So like, the first consumer headset.
Yeah.
The CV1.
You might be right.
We can say the Oculus Rift. We'll just say the Oculus Rift.
Okay. Yeah. There you go.
There we go. Yeah. Great. Okay.
It's gonna be like I wasn't in NXR at that time. I don't know. Right. I don't know all the like, nitty gritties on those
code names. It was Project Santa Cruz.
Yeah. No. I mean, I signed the Oculus NDA a long time after that. All
right. Let's try pies. Pies for 400.
Pies for 400. Pies are never spiked, but this one is definitely barbed.
Oh my god. What is a rhubarb pie?
Rhubarb pie. Let's see it. Rhubarb pie, indeed.
Strawberry rhubarb pie, my favorite pie in the world, with a little vanilla ice cream.
Excellent.
Let's hop over to theater. We haven't done any theater yet.
Good choice. Okay, theater for 200. This is the part of the stage that exists beyond the curtain.
Beyond the curtain, but in what direction? Like toward the audience or behind the curtain?
Oh, like yeah, towards the audience.
Toward the audience. Let's the answer is probably going to be either thrust or downstage. I'm gonna try or the stage extension. I'm gonna try just downstage.
That's actually not what I'm looking for.
Okay, that's fine. We'll see what the.
I need to word these with more precision. It's like my those answers aren't wrong, so I need to like make you more wrong when you answer stuff like that. Chat, that's all you guys.
Yeah,
get in there.
Chat. Go chat.
The front
wall.
The fourth wall.
Nice.
In the post Deadpool society, like I couldn't put the fourth wall as an answer in that set. I'm just gonna say like the fourth wall is none of them, just so everyone has fun. Which knowing people in this chat, they will probably continue to use fourth wall anyways, based on that. Oh man, chat, you guys gotta pick it up tonight. I've seen some vicious battles between guests and chatters.
Mm.
All right, let's see. We're looking for proscenium.
Oh, okay, gotcha. I think of the proscenium as like the actual, like not further down, but like the actual, like that dividing line. But
Gotcha.
cool. I dig it.
I mean, you're the expert, so like, but I couldn't like ask you before this. Be like, hey, Alex, for the trivia game, I'm looking for like, what's the proper definition of proscenium? It's one of the answers.
Yeah, if we do ever do this again, I'll put you in touch with Kevin Labson at Agile
Oh,
Lens,
I
who
know
knows.
Kevin.
Yes, and Kevin knows so much more about theater than I do, and he could like prep all of these properly.
Yeah, that would have been a good idea, and he probably would have had fun with that too. He seems like a fun dude.
And fun fact, he's one of the guys who's like in Austin right now and still working on the crazy VR arena project I alluded to.
Yeah. Excellent. Okay, what's the next one? What do we want to do
Let's
next?
try VR for 400.
Here for 400. Stress Level Zero released a sequel to one of their hit games. What is that sequel?
God, I'm so bad at keeping up with game releases. I'm just gonna say Pavlov 2. What is Pavlov
Nope.
2? No.
That is incorrect.
Yeah. Go ahead, chat. Get it.
Get it, y'all. That is correct. I didn't expect you to spell it that correctly, Mega Mocap. So
Nice
I put a
job.
space in between because I thought that, like, I don't know, I just thought it was going to be easier for you guys, but that is correct.
Nice job.
Bone Lab like that, yeah.
Right.
I was like I wasn't going to be mean by formatting it correctly.
Right. Lab of Bones.
But... Oh, Bone Lab, very fun. All right.
There we
Yep.
go. Good
That's
job.
chat. You're on the board now. All
right.
right. Excellent. So that means they get to pick. Mega Mocap, do you got anything? Do you have a if you got to go quickly, otherwise what do you know, Nostradamus? You guys are some of the smartest people I know. Alex, I highly recommend if you want to see people doing cool stuff all the time, you should join our Discord. There's just
For sure. I
so
would love
many
to.
so many geniuses just
Yeah,
constantly
I'm still
dropping
bad
cool
at
stuff.
Discord because I can't figure out how to only
More
get
VR.
notifications I want. Great, more VR.
Oh, yeah. It is tricky, but it can be done. It can be done. More VR for 600 so that by request of Mega. It's going to chat first this time.
Yep.
The highest selling VR title according to Steam. All right. I'm just giving him a second so that the stream can catch up. So everybody can gets a chance to see that just in case we're a few seconds behind. Important information, chat. This is according to Steam. So there's that's a variable, I should say.
Not the Pico store, in case
Yes.
that's what you were thinking.
Yes. All right. It's open. Go for it, y'all. Oh, someone has just followed. Hey, thanks for following.
Dead Sun Prime. Mega Mocap VR. Oh yeah, I gotta get those spaces right.
I have this thing that whenever anyone follows, the camera zooms into my little watch where you can see their name. Really, none of y'all? That's all right. So that's Alex's turn.
Oh, for this question?
Yes, that's
Oh,
all
okay.
you now.
Yeah, I guess best selling would imply that it's not something free, perhaps, although it could be a trick question. I will say, oh no, actually, I'll just say VR chat. We'll see if VR chat comes up.
VR chat would be free. I'll give you one more shot.
Oh, okay, sure. Oh man, Rec Room is also free. What else are the kids playing these days?
You can't look at anything.
Oh, Half-Life Alex. Half-Life Alex. I'll say that.
There we go. That's what I was looking for here.
Yeah, there we go.
Half-Life Alex. That's right. Half-Life
Cool.
Alex Coulombe.
Yeah. My alter ego.
All right, Alex, you have the board. What would you like next?
Real quick on Mega Mocap's indignation that can't be right. I wonder if the best selling part is by count or by profitability, because the fact that it was like a $70 game, I'm sure made it much easier to be profitable than a $20 game.
That is a good question. I couldn't get that information from whatever terrible listicle site I learned that on. I
Sure.
did look for it. I promise. Yeah. Also, you have to think about the fact that that ships with every index as well. So
That's
anyone
right.
who wanted an index got Half-Life Alex, whether they wanted it or not. Like that one time, Apple tried to give everybody a record from U2, which was
Yeah, that's right. I forgot about that. Let's go to theater.
theater for 400. Commonly, there are 4 types of theaters: arena stage, end stage, flexible stage, and
What is a thrust stage? Yeah. All right. Good question.
right on. I felt like a very Alex question.
Yeah, I dig it.
All right. You're ahead by a factor of 10. Keep going.
Let's keep going down the theater line. Theater 600.
Theater 600. All right. They've been paid to applaud.
What is it's either going to be a studio audience or a plant. I'm going to say what is a studio audience?
That's incorrect.
Okay. Go ahead, chat.
There is a specific, and I think somewhat anachronistic term that I learned for this.
An anachronistic term. Okay, I'm excited. I might
Yeah.
learn something here.
Couple more seconds. You guys got this. You can do this.
A laugh box. Oh.
That's not it. All right,
Ooh.
everybody.
A
A
clack.
A clack.
What? What
A
is that?
clack. A group of paid audience members who will provide the exact right kind of feedback to all the beats in the
Amazing.
show. Yes. So
Got to get me some of them.
nobody gets that. Hey, does anyone in chat have a? This is illegal. Sadly, no. I don't think so. I don't think there's any reason that would be illegal. Anybody in chat have anything? Otherwise, maybe I'll just pick the next.
Go ahead.
The next one, and we'll have Alex do it. Let's pies for 600. Alex, you want to take pies for 600?
Yeah. Or yeah, let's do it. Price was 600.
All right. The ingredients may have been grown underground, but this pie is much the opposite of bitter.
Mm. I'm thinking like a potato pie or a carrot pie or something like that. I mean, a lot of the ingredients in a shepherd's pie come from underground. I'll say shepherd's pie.
It's not shepherd's pie.
Let's go, chat.
All right, everybody. This one's in the bag. I feel it for you guys. You guys got this.
Chat. Come on.
You guys got
chat.
this.
Sweet potato pie.
That's correct.
Nice.
It's a exclamation point TF space sweet potato pie because Twitch is somewhat pedantic on account of the fact that regex in Unreal is hard to implement.
Yeah. Cool. I've never had sweet potato pie before, but I do acknowledge that it exists.
Okay, yeah, I think that's a worthwhile one for sure.
Nice.
Yes. So,
Woohoo!
you guys can get him on the pies. That's
Go,
it.
guys. Get
He
the
need-
pies.
That's his weak spot. That's his weak spot, chat. Get him on the pies. You guys are back on the board now. You're gonna Google chess pie after this? Please do. Pie knowledge go. Okay, we're putting you guys back on the pie train again here. Chat, you get to go first again. This pie is for those who want to get dirty far below the Mason-Dixon line.
Pie type is super effective.
All right, chat. I'm just like hanging out for a second. Yep, there you go. All right, here you go. That's all you guys. You guys get first shot at this one. Because I'm interested to see if anyone says anything more specific than that, guys. But I will. You get just pie.
Just pie.
I will take mud pie, but I'm wondering if anyone can be a little bit more specific.
Cow pie. Oh God.
Oh, no, not cow pie.
I
That
do know
would
what that is.
that would be funny though. Uh, I will take mud pie. I was looking specifically for Mississippi mud pie, but I'll take mud pie.
Oh, what is it exactly?
It's a dessert pie. It's like a
Oh.
chocolate pie of some kind.
Oh, I have had this in rural Illinois, visiting my wife's side of one side of their family. Yes, that's real. It does taste pretty good.
Very far away from Mississippi there, but
Yeah, but that's what it was. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, for sure. Chat got it again. I'm gonna give you guys
Chat.
pie. I'm gonna give you guys pie again because this like otherwise, I gotta help make this interesting. This Pennsylvania Dutch pie isn't made with insecticides, despite its name. This is definitely the $1,000 question. Although if I realized chess pie was so rare, I'm just like I guess I've just been going to really bougie pie shops.
Yeah.
Kind of a issue there a little bit.
Insecticide. Huh. Come on, chat. I believe in you.
You guys got this. Oh wait, did I even open trivia yet? No, I didn't.
Oh.
I didn't hit the command yet. Everyone's waiting for me to.
Raid pie, shoe fly pie.
Oh, that's correct. That's
Nice.
not the spelling I expected, but that is correct. Shoe fly pie is it. We will take shoe fly pie.
Nice. Shoe fly. Like shoe fly don't bother me.
Exactly. That's that. But that's you guys.
Cool.
All right. Oh, maybe I'm supposed to wait to close it. There's so many so many rickety gates and branches and bad blueprints in this thing.
I love that you did it in a day though. That's so cool.
It might have been 2. I don't remember, but yeah, it was fun. I had the modeling too. Also done like a day or something. All right, so that Alex, they're at the end of their spree there. Wait, no, I mean they still get to pick the next one.
Yeah,
they get to pick the
come on,
next one.
guys.
Yeah.
I challenge you
For
to
fact
pick
checker for
something
these
that
questions?
You know better than me. Yeah, Megan Mocap VR is doubting the efficacy of the knowledge here.
Normally there is supposed to be someone who kind of helps with this a little bit, but they are a little bit indisposed at the moment. Yeah.
Right.
So VR. Wolfjack says VR. All right, so VR for 800. The first VR headset was called blank in 1968.
Ooh, well, see. First of all, I would take umbrage with it being the first VR headset, but let's see what the chat says.
Okay. Yeah. Stay your umbrage, Alex, if you will, for now, for the moment. I'm just teasing it out a little bit so that they get it at the right time. All right, here you guys go.
Sword of Damocles. Virtual reality headset. Virtual Boy. The 1968 Virtual Boy.
The 68. That's probably the drip. You know what I'm talking about? Like that had to be the 1968 Virtual Boy, like that, like a mid-century modern Virtual Boy. Like that had to be beautiful. Am I right?
Yeah.
That's totally it. That is correct. Sword of Damocles was correct.
Well done.
Where is it here?
Look at chat catching up.
Yeah.
Sensorama. Yeah, I was gonna say I would say the first VR headset was actually in the 1800s, and was basically the equivalent of like a ViewMaster, and it was called not a magic lantern. It was called a wonder scope. Anyways, neither here nor there.
No, somewhat here, somewhat there. You have to time travel to get there, but
yeah.
All right. So they wanted to finish off VR. This UDP protocol, UDP based, is used for transferring mocap data amongst many other streams across many platforms. I feel like people in my chat should know this one.
Yeah, come on, guys.
All right.
You're so close to pulling ahead.
You got this. You got this. It's not Live Link. Live Link is a good guess. Actually don't know what protocol Live Link runs over network. Here we go. There we go. Automatically triggered that time. Nice.
Nice.
OSC does work over UDP to
Great work,
transfer
guys.
mocap data over, depending on what mocap system you're using, over the
I,
network.
fun fact, I'm creating an OSC course for Epic Games right now for Unreal Engine. It's an amazing underused protocol.
Oh, nice. I use it for all of my from my Stream Deck to get to all of my different commands, like all my different cameras.
Yeah.
That's how I trigger all this stuff. Is just a bunch of different. I built I built like remotes before on like iPads and things because it just like
Hmm.
works from anything and it's so very fun. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, you can't see, but behind the scenes, I'm like fighting my cat who's on my desk right now. It's like, why is this taking so long, Woody? As I'm trying to press buttons, my cat's in the way.
That's it.
Um, Mega chooses architects. Okay. So that's see, you can get a big lead up front. You can get to 4,000. Chat might still get you. All right.
Yeah,
So
no, this is good. There's good drama here.
yeah, he created the world's greatest office for S.E. Johnson.
I have two thoughts on this. We'll see what chat says.
Yeah, and this
Bye,
is
Mega Mocap.
right. Let me open this up for you guys. Chat, we're waiting with bated breath here.
I know. Yeah. Oh, not a single guess. Bob the
Bob the
Builder.
Builder.
Oh boy. Jeez.
That's not it.
All right, my turn.
Yes, Alex, that is all you.
Great. So I definitely did study this building, and if I recall, I thought it was Philip Johnson, but yes, I think as Dead Some Prime just alluded to, I believe it was actually Frank Lloyd Wright.
You guys can't. You don't want to guess afterwards. You'll give it to me, but I'm pretty sure you already knew that,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
by a long
I was gonna
shot.
say.
So, Frank Lloyd Wright.
Nice.
All right, it's neck and neck now.
All right, let's keep doing architecture.
4,400. All right, architecture for 600. Alex gets first guess this time.
Yeah.
She created a gravity-defying museum of art in Sao Paulo.
Ooh. I am going to guess who is Zaha Hadid.
That's not correct.
Ooh, all right. Come on, chat.
All right, here we go. Um, it's the lag. Oh, okay. So maybe I need to give you guys a little more time. That's if you follow chat. Chat is in real time with you guys. So if you see the countdown, like you should see that trivia closes before you're able to enter. But I could be wrong. Um, all right, trivia's open here. We're starting to get into the obscure stuff. Although we only have 4 questions left.
Mm-hmm.
This is a nail biter. I don't know. It can't tie at this point.
That's true. Yeah, the math doesn't work.
Yeah. I know this, but no idea who made it. Yeah, this is getting to, these are the tough ones. Use your collective hive mind, chat, or lack of hive mind, actually.
Right. All right. Let's see who it was.
Let's see who it was. Lena Bobardi.
Wow. All right.
Yeah.
Cool.
Alex, what do you want next?
Let's
More
let's do theater.
theater for 800. This Marxist director and playwright was one of the, I don't know why it cut off, one of the most influential of his time.
Ooh, there's a few people this could be. I'm gonna say, who is Bertolt Brecht? Hey, all right,
That is correct.
nice.
Alex is back in the lead.
All right, let's do architects.
You could still take him, chat. Architects for
Yeah.
800. The Berliner Philharmonie was made by what architect?
Oh man, Berlin, German. I'm gonna guess if it's who I think it was. I did a few of his buildings. Um, he did a lot in Germany. I will say I can't believe I'm blanking on his name because I did like 5 of his buildings in architecture school. I have to say someone. Geez, I'm gonna say who is Rafael Mineo. It's not him, but I
It's
just
not.
gotta throw something out there. Yeah. Come on,
Nope.
chat.
All right, y'all. Go for it.
If it's who I think it is, I'm gonna be real mad at not remembering.
I don't know how much is common or uncommon about architecture. So I just kind of thought this was gonna like all be just very wheelhouse. But
Yeah.
I suppose there's a lot of guys. Ello, I think that's correct.
Ooh. Oh.
I don't think you did spell it right, but I'll take it.
Yeah. I mean,
Um,
I'm impressed if it's anything close
it
to
was Sharoon. It was not. His first name is not Hans though.
that.
Alex, will you feel
Ooh.
cheated if we
No, give them the points because that's like still way closer than anything I was thinking. I
uh,
want there to have, I want them to have it.
all right, there we go. That's gonna go to chat then.
All right,
Oh my gosh.
let's do the final architecture. Oh, sorry, it's them. It's them. They get it
It's
too.
them.
Yeah,
It's
you guys
them.
won.
Yeah, you guys just be ready, you guys, when you get the answer right, just be ready with what question you want next. Otherwise,
Yeah. Only
Alex
two
is
left.
Alex is being very generous with his time tonight. And,
This
we
is
don't
fun.
want to be here forever, but yeah, no, it totally is. Um okay. Anybody? Otherwise I'm gonna pick for y'all. I want to see theater. All right.
All right.
I'm gonna see theater, but Chad gets first guess. So, the father of the method of physical action. I'm learning a lot about my CSV importer. Through, if you're wondering why there's so many different, uh, like quotation marks in this thing.
Yeah.
Chat, the father of the method of physical action. I'm gonna open this up to you in just a second and make sure everyone has caught up. And here we go.
Come on, chat.
Of the method of physical action. No Googling. Stay honest, chat.
Yeah. I'm genuinely rooting for them. I want them to get this.
All the soccer players.
All the soccer players.
To Chuck Norris. Some old dude. Oh, that's funny. It goes to Alex.
Yeah. I actually was also hoping they'd get it because I'm so embarrassed that I'm not remembering this because we definitely studied it in theater school. I want to say it starts with an S. I gotta say something. What is the? It's right on the tip of my tongue. It's absolutely
You
not
got
right. But I'm
this.
gonna say the Schrodinger method.
The Schrodinger method. No, it's not Schrodinger. I see what track you were on. It's Stanislavski.
Yeah, Stanislavski. Yeah, of course.
Which apparently is not the beginning of method acting, although some people think it is.
That's right. Kevin will be proud of me for getting Brecht, and he'll be very mad at me for missing that one.
Missing Stanislavski. Nice.
Yeah.
All right, that just leaves us with this. All right, Alex, you're down. I'll let you take first guess at this one. This architect collaborated with Rem Koolhaas to engineer the Beijing CCTV headquarters.
Ooh, I know that building. Rem Koolhaas does not like a lot of people. And by the way, did they go first? I think they go first.
I don't think anybody necessarily. It can be
gotcha.
awarded. You're down, so.
Oh, I got you. You're like,
yeah,
you take first crack at it. Geez, usually Rem Koolhaas does work with Rex and OMA, but you're making it sound like it's one particular architect.
Who specifically engineered? Keyword engineered.
Yeah, engineered. Let's say it's not Calatrava again. I don't know. It might be my old boss, maybe. I don't know. Let's say who is Raphael Vignoli?
Nope. I did think about putting your boss in here. That is because that was something I learned about you, and then it's one of those ideas that just went back out afterwards. Just like, oh nope, gotta finish this fast.
Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah.
All right, let's see if the chat knows.
Chat. This is it, y'all. This one's for all the marbles right here. Ella went to interior design college.
It's beyond my pay grade.
Amazing.
Who are the most famous interior designers? I wonder. Winnie the Pooh.
I'll tell you how I got this answer,
Hmm.
Alex.
Tell me about it.
After we reveal it.
Sure. Oh, Cecile Balmond. Okay, okay, interesting. I
Had
wouldn't have
you
guessed
heard of
that.
that person before?
Yes, I've heard of them, but I wouldn't have guessed it for that project. Yeah.
All right, because I literally what I did was I asked ChatGPT. I was like, "Give me a super obscure yet notable architect," and then I went to his
Interesting.
Wikipedia page and then like found information about him and
That's funny.
stuff about that building came up and like yeah, that was that was how we got there. It was like
Yeah.
me do it using AI to like get even more obscure than what Google could provide for me.
Right.
But
By the way, did AI help you with those lovely pie riddles, or are those all original?
I think I asked ChatGPT for like a list of pies, but all the riddles are
Mm,
me. It
nice. Well done.
because it can't do it. That's like it's worth saying. Like I would be willing to
Oh,
like go ahead.
I was just gonna say I was impressed that someone was being annoying in a silly way. There goes my mic. We asked ChatGPT to what were we trying? We were asking it to recreate like the made you look kind of thing,
Hmm.
and ChatGPT came up with like, here is another equally annoying thing that has a similar cadence to it, and said tick tock. Now you are just like a clock.
Oh
It's like,
no.
this is particularly annoying because a clock is predictable and you're describing the person as also very predictable.
But also
Anyways,
like that internal meter though, just
yes.
like killer.
Yeah.
Um that's oh gosh, that's funny. Yeah, no, the pie riddles are all me. Typically, sometimes I need a break. Typically, there's one column on the show called "It's Soups," and it's just me
Mm,
making up soup puns. Sometimes I'm like I just run out of soup inspiration, then I go pies.
yeah.
It's a rare one. Well, yeah, that's it, everybody. Alice Coulombe, thank you for coming on. This was so much fun. It was good to have you. Where can the good people find you out there in the wide world?
I am mostly Ibrews, Ibrews, on YouTube and Twitter. It's a handle I came up with when I was like 12 years old and was thinking about iMacs and Apple things, even though I didn't have an Apple product. And I was also commenting on my eyebrows, which were already pretty prominent at that age. And I was thinking Ibrews, like internet concoctions. So that's usually where I am at, mostly active on Twitter and YouTube, also on LinkedIn. Also, can I tell a very, very quick ChatGPT story?
Oh, totally. Yeah.
Creatively, I find it wonderful to ask ChatGPT to just take anything you want and turn it into a song or nursery rhyme or a rap. And I have to credit Vikas Reddy for introducing that idea to me. And we asked for a rap about how cool VR and 3D printing was, because we were making some custom mounts to do things like hide the headphone. Or we put a mount inside like the headphone jack to cover like the power button so people wouldn't turn it off automatically.
Mm.
And there was kind of like a kind of thing the 3D printer was doing. And so we're like, yeah, make a rap about this. And they came up with like a totally lovely rap about like, yeah, I'm creating whole worlds, 3D printing and VR. It opens up all these possibilities. And then Marshall on my team, he just said, okay, now do it like Eminem. And it just immediately launched into, I don't give a F about your 3D printer. And then like it started to type a little more and then it backed up and was like, never mind. And actually that wasn't through ChatGPT. That was through the Microsoft one, where like it started to say it all and then it rewound, and I just loved how it like started to get really angry and then was like, never mind, I'm so sorry I did
Oops,
that.
sorry about that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny. Oh my goodness. All right. Anything else to leave the good people with before we head out?
No, this was a lot of fun. Woody, thank you for all you do for the community. I've been enjoying your content for a long time, and I hope you continue to do it. And thank you to the lovely audience, and all the cool stuff you guys do. And I'm just so grateful to be part of this community. You're all delightful people.
Oh my goodness. What a compliment to me. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. And I would say likewise. You do a lot for the community as well. So thank you so much for everything and for just taking time out to like talk about the cool things that you're doing because it's it's easy to get caught up in all the biz too. So
Yeah.
all right, this has been another virtual Woody Variety Show. Thank you everybody so much to our lovely audience who all were fierce competitors tonight in our chatting game, and we're lovely participants in the conversation too, and asked such great questions. Y'all are great. Appreciate y'all. Everybody have a good one. All right, so this is Twitch. So at this point, we're gonna set up like a raid just because it's customary. You know, if we're all assembled here together, we'll spread that love and just kind of end things. Alex, do you have anyone on Twitch that you particularly admire who might be live right now?
Ooh, good question. I did speak on the Sushi Dragons Twitch show. He might be live.
Oh, Sushi Dragon's cool.
Yeah.
Um, Sushi Dragon. Sushi Dragon does interviews?
Yeah, he interviewed me, and I was like a tiny little person, like on his hand. It was fun. The other Twitch
Not
streamers I know
live.
well is Martini Giant. It was
Martini.
live. It was a live interview, and he was doing all
Oh,
sorts
I
of
mean,
crazy
he's not
things.
currently live.
Okay, yeah. Try Martini Giant.
Martini Giant. I found someone. They're not live. It's a pod. Is that a podcast?
Yeah, they talk about movies.
Okay, they're not live. All right. Well, then we'll set up somebody then. Someone from the wider world of things. I have Twitch pulled up on my like profile monitor, the non-landscape one, and I can't see anybody's names. I'm like just looking at little thumbnails there, and I'm like, who is this? Let's see here. Yeah. Okay. There's a 3D modeler VTuber that I follow who does really, really cool work, and you've probably seen some of their work on some famous VTubers. We're going to set them up with the raid. This is ShiverJ. ShiverJ is a Blender artist.
Nice.
So here we go. We will go to. I always forget to pull up my dashboard. And Shiver. J. And it looks like they're playing a video game. Fun. All right. Oh, I think someone just followed, and I missed it. See my little watch. Just thanks. Oh, that's you. That's you, Alex. That's funny. Nonetheless, thank you for the follow. All right, excellent. Okay, everybody, be good for Shiver. Thanks for coming by. This is super fun. Thanks again, Alex. I'll see y'all on the flip side.
Cheers. Bye, all.